Welcome to the MangaReloaded podcast. I am Matt, and I am joined today by Blake.
Hi.
And today we are going to be talking about spoilers. Are they intrinsically a net negative or not?
Spoilers ahead.
Yeah, spoilers. We're going to literally spoil everything.
Well, they're
Snape kills Dumbledore. Rosebud's the name of a sled. What are some other?
I can't do
things?
this. There's too many
Huh?
spoilers already.
The Luke is Darth Vader is Luke's father.
Luke is Darth Vader's father. It's
That
really
too.
confusing.
Give me some more spoilers, Blake. More spoilers.
More spoilers. Oh, Bruce Willis is dead
Yeah.
in the Sixth Sense.
You're right. And in Fight Club, really the other guy is just his imagination. There is no other guy. He's
There is
the
no
guy.
other guy. He's the killer. I don't have any more spoilers.
Yeah, I don't either.
Not off the top of my head.
I mean, we
Yeah.
could spoil manga and anime, but
Well, that's what we're
no,
talking about.
that might not be such a good idea for this channel
Why? Well,
because people get really salty when you spoil things, Blake.
I know. Well, and that's what I want to talk about, though. I want to talk about is in manga and anime, is it necessarily bad to have the story spoiled for you, or can you live with it?
As somebody who would talk to me would likely tell you
Who would talk to you? That's
that
disgusting.
that's a good question, but Um, I don't actually mind spoilers. In fact, I request them usually when someone's trying to get me to invest time into pretty much anything. The reason I say that is because if you're trying to sell me on a series or even just a movie or whatever, and all you've got to tell me is, "Oh, it's so good," and then you give me like these like general kind of overall statements like, oh, the cinematography just looks so good, or this is just so pretty, but you can't actually give me any of the good narrative beats that actually make it a standout
Hmm.
work.
It's
It's
not
harder for
very
me to
enticing.
justify spending that extra time on that when I could be spending time on things that I know are likely going to be good experiences because I know some of what happens in them.
Hmm.
And from that simple, from that sample, it's got me already interested. You
And
know,
well, I also feel like there's a difference when it comes to like the medium that's being spoiled for you. Like if it's a movie, I usually don't like to have the movie spoiled just because at most it's going to eat up like 2 hours of my time to watch it. So it's like, I mean, I can be like, yeah, watch this. This is a good movie. It's like, oh, okay. And it's like, even if it doesn't turn out to be that great, it's like, oh, net 2 hours out of my day that are gone. Whereas it's like with like a manga series where I'm going to be putting weeks worth of time into it, maybe even months, it's like, it's not as big of a deal for me if it's spoiled just because there's so much along the way for me to absorb that it's like just knowing what the ending is. It's like, but I don't know how it gets there. Are we actually going to be saying any manga the actual spoilers?
go ahead. I
Okay.
mean, I won't stop you.
Okay. Well, the best
Maybe our
example.
censors will. Beep!
We're just gonna censor out the next 10 minutes, okay? But a great example, and the first, because originally I hated spoilers. I was one of those people that thought spoilers were the worst thing in the world, and if I had the ending to something spoiled, I would never ever seek it out again. I would avoid it at all costs. And the best example I have of that was Death Note. And I mean, again, saying it now, it's kind of ridiculous, but it's like I had the ending of Death Note spoiled to me, and I thought that was the most earth-shattering thing in the world. It's like, oh my god, Light dies at the end. I can't watch this now. Now I know the ending. But now it's like, having read it, it's like that literally made no difference that I knew that, because that's not the point. It's
Well, yeah,
I mean,
it's
I mean,
not
the
like
the way the series is set up anyway is it's like you kind of have a pretty good idea that he's gonna have to die anyway.
Right. And it's not like the entire enjoyment of experience something can be completely compartmentalized into a single narrative moment.
Exactly.
Right
And
now, I do agree that like when you take in spoilers, there's a degree of there is a sacrifice there in that you're less intrigued. Your level of intrigue, personal intrigue, is a little diminished because you know where things are going.
well,
At the same time, your ability to analyze what you're watching goes up
right.
because you can see how things are leading up to that moment and whether that feels good or not. It's like
Well,
watching it the second time, but during your first actual run.
right. Well, and
You're
I
getting the benefits of the second watch through on the first watch.
mhm. Well, I feel like, I mean, there are even examples of series using that to their example. Like, again, best one, Berserk. I love that we get that handful of what, 2 volumes, 3 volumes right at the beginning of that black swordsman, where we just get like tidbits of things that have happened. We know everything has gone wrong, but we don't know why. And so it's that level of intrigue. I feel like the same can be said for spoilers in that I know, okay, this happens, but why does that happen? So it almost pulls me along the story and makes me be like, oh, when's it? Because it's like I know it's going to happen, but it's like, is there foreshadowing to that? Is there something big that leads? Again, and it also depends on what the spoiler is too. But
Yeah.
I don't think in general that spoilers are necessarily a bad thing. Now, I can give an example of a case where I feel like a spoiler really ruined my enjoyment level. And this
Okay.
this is actually just very recent, and it's funny because it's the spoiler that I said at the beginning, was knowing that in The Sixth Sense Bruce Willis is a ghost. That actually severely it took away a lot of the punch of the movie, if you will, because again, I knew the whole time it's like oh man, there's a lot of things that indicate it, but like I could see how you would get to the end of the movie not knowing that and it be like, "Oh shit."
That's kind of like the Fight Club spoiler.
Yeah. And I did not know that
Um,
going into Fight Club, so that made it I liked I
well,
liked
I
getting
felt like once I reprocessed the movie with that in mind, I kind of thought less of the movie than I did initially. I kind of
Mhm.
liked it better the way it was just presented before we got the twist. I don't think the
Right.
twist really added or made the movie that much better.
Right.
I know that makes me the minority on that movie, but
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
to me, if if a spoiler ruins it, it's because that plot beat or that moment actually ruined the movie.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Sixth Sense, but and I
But
don't
you
mean
know
to
the
tell you how
twist.
you feel, but would you say that it's likely that that plot twist actually ruins the movie or ruins something about the movie?
No, and here's
Or is it just literally one of those things where like,
the thing that has to be considered is that is an M. Night Shyamalan movie, and
yeah,
Shyamalan builds his entire movie on his plot twist. And so knowing the Shyamalan plot twist before it happens does kind of take away a lot of the fun of the movie. And again, I'm not going to sit here and really go into what I think about Shyamalan,
okay,
but
I'm gonna sound pretentious as hell for saying this, but
go for it.
like narrative isn't just about being fun. Maybe movies are about being fun, but a good for something to actually be a good narrative, it has to hold up a little better beyond just the experience of it. Like there are things that are just meant to be experienced, and then there are things that are meant to be thought about. And for me, anything that's actually worth my time is going to be something that asks for a little more thought and a little not as much feeling necessarily.
I mean, that's kind of how I feel that Shyamalan movies are built anyway, is they're not really there to make you think about anything. It's kind of literally there to build up to one pivotal moment, and it builds up. It's like a jump scare in a movie where you know the scare is coming, It's like building up so much suspense to it, and then it hits you, and then it's like, all right, all that adrenaline's gone now. I'm done.
Yeah, but there are good jump scares and there's bad jump
No,
scares.
I think they're all bad.
Huh?
I think they're all bad.
Okay, I'll tell you one I think is actually good, and it's in Lord of the Rings when like Bilbo goes frenzy over the
Yeah,
One Ring.
yeah. I know
That's
what you're
good
referring to.
because it's in a movie you're not expecting it in.
No, the best jump scare that's in a movie where it should not be, and you might not have even seen this movie is have you ever seen 1 Hour Photo with
No,
Robin Williams?
no, I haven't.
It is the only. It's not really a horror movie, but it's the closest thing I feel like Robin Williams has ever done to a horror movie. And it's no. I consider it one of his best roles in the sense that he gets so into, because his character is basically a stalker. He plays a stalker who becomes incredibly obsessed with this family, and basically he just works at like a mini mart where they go to develop their photos, but
I've
like,
heard of this movie.
yeah, but like every time they like have their photos developed, like he also takes a copy for himself, and he's one of those guys who like paste a picture of himself into the family. Like he'll put his head over the dad's head and pretend like, oh, it's his family, and like he knows
That's
these
sad.
people. Oh yeah, he does a great job in that role. Like it's so out of character for him, but in that movie there's this one dream scene where it's just kind of, it's very abstract. He's like in a white room and it's just kind of spinning around his character, and the camera eventually pans onto his character, and his character has his eyes closed, and then he opens them and they're blood red, and he just screams and blood starts spraying everywhere. And it's one of those moments where you just, it comes completely out of nowhere, and it's like, I'm awake now.
Jeez, Blake, those spoilers.
That wasn't a spoiler. I didn't tell you what happens in the movie. I just spoiled that it's going to scare. Well, here's the thing is, you can't even predict. I knew the jump scare was in there, and it still got me. Because I got so engrossed. Now that's an example of a movie that's so well built from start to finish that I got so engrossed in what was going on that I forgot that was going to happen. And it got me so hard. But yeah, God. But again, going back to spoilers, I don't necessarily feel like knowing the spoilers should ruin the movie or ruin the experience for you.
Well, for me, if it's a good manga, if it's a good movie or whatever, it'll still be good on the second time through.
Yeah.
When you have all that knowledge. Granted, you might carry your initial feelings that were fresh at one point with you. You can't recreate that moment of discovery or whatever.
Yeah. One very interesting example of where knowing the spoilers is actually the only reason that I read it. And you should know this really well because you and Sean gave me all the spoilers, was Naruto.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
I had vowed to not read Naruto. I said I was not going to read Naruto. I was going to live with the bit of Naruto I knew. I knew all pre time skip and a little bit after, but that's all I knew, and I was content with knowing that. And so I know I was talking with you guys, and it was like shortly after Naruto had ended, and you guys basically were like, hey, you want to hear what happened? And I was like, I'm never going to read it. Yeah, sure. Tell me everything. And like, you literally pretty much gave me the play-by-play of the whole series. And I was just like, it was one of those things where it kind of sunk in, and it's like, okay, maybe I should read Naruto. And literally,
what was the spoiler that actually made you want to go back?
Or
was it just the whole thing?
I think it was just the whole thing. I think it was hearing the whole story play out, and it was like, it sounded pretty good. And again, I'm not going to sit here and say Naruto's, even of the big three, it's honestly my least favorite, and I know that's really controversial to say, but I really enjoyed Naruto, and I don't think I would have ever read it if I hadn't. Again, it's one of those cases where I didn't want to invest the time into it if it was going to be mediocre. But hearing how it was going to play out, the different twists and turns and story points that were going to happen, it intrigued me to the point where I was like, all right, I'll put in the time to read all 70 volumes. We'll do it. And again, it was a series that I previously been introduced to, so it's not like it was an entirely new concept. It was just like I'd heard that there was a quality dip as the series went on, and it was one of those things that was like, is it really worth my time to read 50 volumes knowing that it's not going to get better? But yeah, I think it was. And again, if I hadn't known the spoilers of what was going to happen, I probably wouldn't have put the time into reading it. It would have sat there as a series that I never read because I never felt like reading it. I never felt there was any motivation for it. And I feel like a lot of people do that with a lot of really long series.
Right. Well, even for short things, I need to know like why is it worth reading? Like, it's why I'm reading Tomorrow's Joe right now, is because I know about the two biggest deaths in that story.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's a sports series where characters die.
Like Rocky?
Yeah, like Rocky.
Wow, say it with so much disdain. Yeah, I guess it's like Rocky. I'm a little offended that you compared the two, though.
Well, no, it's fine. I mean, it's honestly, it probably is like manga's closest thing to a Rocky series, I guess.
Well, I might have to watch it. I hope it's not as repetitive as Rocky is.
No, well, I'm halfway through it right now, and I don't think it is.
Have you seen all the way? Are you current in the Rocky universe?
No.
Okay.
No, not at all. I've seen part of the first movie, but I've heard people talk about other stuff.
Yeah.
I know it's like Rocky retires and then gets out of retirement a lot.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem that I have with the Rocky series, is it's like the first ones where it's like, oh, he's the champ and everything. That's all dandy, but then it's like, all right, and then he comes out of retirement to kick this kid's ass, and it's like, oh, okay. Actually, he comes out of retirement 4 times. Rocky 5 on, it's like he's like, all right, I'm gonna come out of retirement. It's like, I'm gonna train this guy. And then he's like, okay, now I'm done. And it's like, oh, I'm going to come out of retirement to have one more fight. Okay, now I'm done. All right, I'm going to come out of retirement again to train this kid. Okay, he's good. I'm done. All right, I guess I can do it again.
Okay, is there... Can you think of a series that if you had it spoiled for you, you don't think you'd like it as much as you do? Like something that's more of an experience?
That's tricky.
Or do you think spoilers pretty much are honestly better for selling things? Because that's my stance.
Let me pull up a list of the stuff that I've read. Do you ever have
I'm pretty good at basically shutting my brain off and just letting myself experience something as it was intended to, despite knowing where it's going.
Yeah. Oh God, a series that would have.
Again, going back to Tomorrow's Joe, I knew about one of these deaths, and I knew during the fight that, okay, this is the one where it's going to happen. But because of the way it was presented and how the emotions were brought out of the characters and how that twist became kind of sudden, it was still very impactful for me.
I think
and I think if something's actually written well, the spoiler won't ruin the experience.
Yeah. And I mean, I can't think of anything where it's like it completely is ruined if you know the spoiler. Like, I know there are quite a few that I can think of where it's like knowing the spoiler really really kind of lessens the blow. Like one that like kind of immediately came to my mind, and I'm not saying again that it ruins it, but it, because I had so much investment in it, was knowing in Rurouni Kenshin, knowing that Kaoru doesn't actually die.
Yeah, but see, I think that's a bad thing as it stands,
Mm-hmm.
like knowing or not knowing, I think you're going to think the same thing
Yeah,
regardless.
exactly. Well, and again, that's what I'm saying. It's not something where it's like it completely steals all the fun, but it's like being on the same emotional roller coaster that Kenshin is, and believing that, oh, that just happened. It's like it doesn't make it any lesser of writing, and maybe that's a lot of that is just because I love Kenshin so much, but
Mm.
it doesn't lessen it or cheapen it at all to know that, oh, she doesn't actually die. But at the same time, I don't know. I feel like at the time that was really important to me, was that being convinced that she had died. And maybe that's
I forget,
because,
did we spoil that for you or not?
no, you did
No,
not
we
spoil that
didn't.
for me.
Okay.
You told I knew nothing of the Inishi, everything with Inishi. I don't think I knew any of that.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think you guys actually spoiled very much for me when it came to Kenshin, because I think it was just one of those series. It's like I'm kind of remembering where I was in life when I was reading
I
it
mean,
too. So
despite the fact that I'm saying I don't care about spoilers, I'm at least cognizant of the fact that other people do.
yeah,
So I try not to unless like I ask for permission.
yeah.
And
And no, again, normally it's not a big deal to me. Okay, let me think. Would that ruin? Okay, one spoiler. I feel like if you knew it, and I'm not gonna say what the spoiler is either. Well, I mean, I'm gonna say the series, but one spoiler that I feel like that might ruin a lot of your enjoyment of the series is Assassination Classroom spoiler. And
okay.
I mean, I mean, I can say it if you want to know what it is, or if you don't.
He
Or
dies or he doesn't die. I mean,
no,
I mean,
well, it's knowing like how everything that's set up in the beginning, how basically finding out that it's all a farce, and like finding out like what Koro Sensei really is, why there's actually a year, why they have to figure out how to defeat him within a year. It's finding out that everything that was set up in the beginning that seemed like a threat, you find out it cheesy way of saying it is a promise actually. And again, it's finding out all of those different things that are set up kind of vague in the beginning, and how they do turn around to be a much more meaningful plot device as the story goes on. So it's not really the issue of knowing whether he gets killed or not, because the story drags you in and it's so well written that you don't really even think about that at the end. But yeah, the plot twist there, that's one I would not have wanted to know beforehand. I wouldn't have cried at the end of that series if I had known what was going to happen.
you cried.
Yeah, I'm a man. Men cry.
Trying to quote Final Fantasy X, but
Oh yeah, I'm going to get a Final Fantasy reference. Peh.
well, you cried. Just saying you cried.
Might as well quote Kingdom Hearts while you're at it.
Oh, okay. I mean, Shion, you're dead. But who am I gonna have ice cream with?
Bleh. Not even ice cream. It's a freaking popsicle. Don't lie to me.
Okay, you at least know kind of what I'm talking about
I
there then.
do. I didn't play any of them. I played one off branch one off branch Kingdom
KH.
Hearts game.
Was it
It's a,
Chain of Memories?
I don't remember.
Okay, what was the gameplay like?
Kingdom
Did it
Hearts?
involve cards?
No. It was it was
What
on a
what what
handheld.
what what was what handheld was it on? Oh Jesus Christ! You don't even know what handheld it was on.
I don't. I think it was on DS. I want to say it was a
Okay, so
DS.
then it was probably either coded or 358 over 2 days.
That one.
358 over two.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was that one.
Yeah,
It,
that's the one where he's like, but Xiao, who will I have ice cream with?
okay, so that is it. Okay, that's why I got the reference because I actually played that one. No, but I hate Kingdom Hearts.
We should
Okay.
do a video about why you hate Kingdom Hearts. I want to like do a psychoanalysis on that.
For the same reason, and that's the
'Cause
sad
I
part.
actually like the series, although I think three was disappointing
Did you play
because
3 already?
spoilers for Kingdom Hearts 3, which just now came out. In
Everybody
that
dies.
game, literally everything is tied with a neat little bow except Sora dies.
Oh, spoilers! How dare you? I was gonna
That's why
play that game
I
too.
thought this episode was, Blake. I thought we were just spoiling like everything
Yeah,
and
no, I
anything
didn't. I did not
for the
care at
sake
all.
of discussing
I
spoilers.
always assume that everyone is going to die. That's how I
It's
go
just,
into every series.
that's just how Kingdom Hearts works, though. It's like literally every single game either has a mostly sweet but kind of or bittersweet kind of ending with a slight tragedy, or it's a complete tragedy like 358 over 2.
I don't remember how that game ends. That's how impactful it was on me.
I mean, you probably didn't give a shit because it's like, like that's not the best first KH game.
That's fine. I just played it to see if I liked the. I played it because someone recommended it to me, and they
Right.
had a copy of it for me to play. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll play it. But it's not one of those games I was like, oh yes, I want to play this. I mean, we can deep dive into it, but literally the most you're gonna get is, I think it's overpopularized garbage, and I just don't feel like reading or playing it.
Okay.
It's literally the same reason why I wasn't going to read Naruto. Is
Okay,
I
so your problem is that you're a hipster and
yes,
that,
yes,
if it's too popular, you won't touch it.
yes, one hundred
I feel
percent.
like I'm talking to myself in 2013.
I know, right?
I don't
No,
want to read Attack on Titan. Everybody
no.
says it's good, and they're just plebes.
Well, see, and that's the thing is that for most things I've stopped doing that. Like right now, I'm reading My Hero Academia. I'm still reading Attack on Titan. I haven't. I've heard too many bad things about Black Clover, and that's the only reason I haven't read that. I've heard too many awful things from you, but we might change that in the future.
Yeah.
But that's the only reason I have not jumped into that one. But I read Promise Neverland up to a certain point.
Sean had to basically beg us to read that.
Did you read Promise Neverland?
I did. I read up to the part where they get out of the, and I said,
Oh, I
okay,
read.
I'll wait till the next part finishes, and then I'll read that.
I read. See, I feel like the next part where I read up to was a great stopping point. But hey, no, spoiler, they get out.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Just have a. Too bad we're too lazy to actually do this, but if we could just have a number count for every spoiler
Every
that we
spoiler.
have in this.
I will go through and count them. I will when I'm editing them. I will go through and count all of the spoilers, and it will be in the title. 32 spoilers ahead.
Okay.
Or it's just like, well, okay. Here's my question. Since I told you a lot of the spoilers of Attack on Titan, and Attack on Titan is like built on spoilers.
Yeah, Attack on Titan's entire thing is how can I like subvert audiences' expectations at literally the expense of the entire narrative at all times.
basically, and that's
Like the thing is, it had a great premise going in. It could have just written the whole them versus these titanic beings thing and just told like a good war story slash survival type thing. It
nope,
could have just done a solid one of those.
nope.
and it
No.
would have been probably pretty well received, I think.
Yeah. I think a lot of people who are following the anime right now, and again, I know I said in my last video I did about it, I predict that they won't ever actually finish Attack on Titan in the anime because there's such a drastic shift in the story. Like I don't think you'll be able to keep audiences locked into that. I really don't.
If Attack on Titan had killed Eren Yeager at the beginning, and then it started just following different casts and characters to the point where the crew you start with at the beginning are none of the people that you started with at the group at the end is nowhere near composed of the same people that were in the beginning. If it was something like that, I probably would say that that's like a great formula for at least a 9 out of 10 series there.
Yeah.
I agree. Just off of like solid theming and just kind of a good, it could have been just a good solid story.
So like Berserk?
Yeah, well, I don't think it has the narrative poignancy of Berserk. That's why Berserk's a 10 out of 10.
Well, no, that's why I'm saying a series like Berserk that starts with one group.
Just a little bit more. For me, a 9 out of 10 is just a really, really solid thing that is without too many like major flaws. While a 10 out of 10 has to be a little bit above that. It has to kind of be trying to say something, and it has to be convincing me that it's about something pretty much all the way through. Not just spots of theming.
Well, and that's what I was saying was with Berserk. Berserk is an example of a series that starts with one group and ends with a completely different group.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Whereas, in my opinion, Attack on Titan, and the sad part is it's actually gotten to the point because we haven't really lost any of the starting group that all of them have kind of lost purpose.
Right. And I'm not
like even our core cast, even with the exception of Eren and Armin are the only characters to me that still feel like they serve a purpose, and that's because the plot shifted to make them serve a purpose still. Like even Mikasa doesn't feel like an important character anymore.
What about Mikasa?
Mikasa doesn't feel that important anymore. I feel like she fades
like everyone's wife, but I absolutely hated that fucking character.
You hated Mikasa?
Yeah, because she feels like Asian wish fulfillment. They're like, oh, she's like the best. Oh, and she's Asian, so everyone wants to fuck her. And
do you know that actually becomes a plot point?
What, that Asians are better than everyone else? They're
Yes.
they're the Attack on Titan Ubermensch.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Well, no. What ends up happening?
Again, fuck that. Sorry.
Without going too much. I mean, basically, they have an entire moment because Asians don't exist in this world, and so she is like, it comes out. It's like, oh, her mother was Asian, and it's like she was like really valuable in the slave trade, so people were gonna abduct her and sell her on the slave trade, and they were like gonna make $1 zillion off her because Asians don't exist anymore. And it's like, no. And well, no, here's the thing is it's not only that she's Asian, but she's also a part of this elite family of killers. And like the Ackerman family. And it's like as the story goes on, like that name keeps popping up and it's so freaking annoying. Because, well, all right, so here's a spoiler for you. You end up finding out that Mikasa and Levi are both Ackermans.
Yeah.
You find out that
so
they're
both
part of the same
Ubermensch of the Attack on Titan setting.
Yes, that is exactly what it is. Is those characters are literally known to be like the best killers ever, and I'm like, why? Why do I give a fuck? Like
because they're Asian or part Asian or whatever.
Basically, it's again not to be.
Isn't that like incredibly overindulgent for a series that is written by an Asian person, Japanese person? Like, doesn't that just kind of, I don't know.
I know what you're saying, and I hate to make it sound that way, but it's like, that's how it feels. It's like, I legitimately don't care. Like, it hasn't even given me a reason to care about this family other than it's like, oh, they're all great killers. It's like, okay, but why? And here's the thing: is they very slightly kind of gave you a little bit of a hint as to why. Apparently, they have some relation to Titans as well, but not the same relation that all the other races have to the Titans. It's like
Okay.
Titan experimentation was done on their family tree, but it still doesn't explain why they are the way they are. It's dumb. Attack on Titan has gotten ridiculous with it's trying to give these really deep, like unexpected plot twists, and it's like they've gotten so ridiculous that I just don't care anymore.
I mean, I think we can agree that there's a good way to subvert expectations, like Hunter x Hunter is pretty darn good at.
Yeah.
And then there's literally doing it even when it would actually make your plot worse.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like Attack on Titan will always choose to do the most unexpected thing in favor of the more logical thing that would actually make your story good.
Yeah. I agree. And yet I've gone so far with it, I just can't bring myself to drop it now. It's like, where is this bullshit train going? I must know.
Like sometimes the more natural path is the path you should do.
Yeah. It's and here's the thing is my biggest problem, well, no, that's not true. I have so many problems with that series, but I hate that the one central point since like the beginning of the series, the Dr. Yeager's lab, I hate that little that plot point that is literally driving the series. And as the series goes further and further, it becomes a bigger and a bigger deal. Like, we have characters dying just to figure out what's in that damn lab.
And that's a great example of like spoiler, because that's what they're using to sell you on the series is, ooh, here's a J.J. Abrams styled mystery box. Yeah. You know, and a lot of stories like use something like that to just kind of like lure a reader into keep reading.
Yeah.
In lieu of actual good content.
Yeah.
Because I just want to find out what's in the basement, or I just want to. I mean, for a lot of people, the only reason they finished Naruto was because I just want to see how it ends.
Yeah.
But that's on them, I guess. So I guess that's not a J.J. Abrams mystery box. But, you know.
Yeah. And
the lab definitely is one of those type of things.
Oh, definitely. And the thing
is,
I can't say that it's horrible what's actually in there. And I mean, I've told you what's in there, but it's not what you were hoping for.
Right. Well, I mean, okay, one could make the argument that the One Piece in One Piece is also like that. However, I think the story within its own theming makes it very clear that it's all about the adventure, not about the treasure at the end. They kind of hit this point several times.
Yeah.
Huh?
I said at least at first it was.
Like if you're going to go into a, at this point, 90 some volume series and okay, they haven't got there yet. You gotta, something else has to be going on because a mystery box can only last so long.
Right.
And I'm not saying Attack on Titan only relied on that, but it definitely did initially use that as a method.
It did initially, but I think it got worse as it went on. As the series went on, and like once they got outside of the walls, I feel like it got to that point where it's like literally there is a scene where the Irwin, the leader of the Survey Corps, leads basically a small army of characters against this one Titan that they know is going to slaughter them, just in hopes that they can somehow get past him to see what's in the lab. Like literally, it for like 5 volumes, all we hear about is Irwin saying, I just want to see what's in the lab. I don't care who dies. I don't care who I have to kill. I don't care how many of my men I have to sacrifice. I just want to see what's in the lab. And you literally have a moment where Levi asks him, he's like, is it worth all of this sacrifice just so one person can see what's in there? And he says yes. And I'm just like, how lame can you get? Like how much can you try to invest me into this one little plot point that even your characters just feel like they don't care about anything else? And it's like, since when? Since when is this the all or nothing plot point? And it's like he even goes into like how like for his whole life this is all he's wanted to do is see what's in this damn thing. And it's like, since when?
Yeah.
Since when was that what you were living for? Why? I don't know. It's
right,
and,
right.
And again, it's then when you see what's in it. And I mean, I know, spoiler on the spoilers, is half the point of that is the fact that he ends up dying before they get there. And so it's supposed to be like, oh no, he didn't get to live his dream. But it's like, I literally don't care. I don't care. Just show me what's in the damn room. And it's like, oh, that's it. Oh, great. Now now the story's way off the track.
So I had a spoiler for Attack on Titan. I know we've already spent enough time on Attack on Titan, but is the wall literally made of titans?
Yes.
Like people say
it
is?
It is made of the shed skin of titans, basically. To put it really simple.
That sounds like the dumbest thing I have ever heard of.
To make it as simple as humanly possible, without going into the details of it, yes, it is the shed skin of titans. Aaron's...
Is it as stupid as I imagine it is?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, it's not... I don't...
Like, that just sounds dumb.
Well, I mean, it ends up becoming a plot point because there's an entire volume, maybe more, spent on the fact that once they figure that out, they're like, okay, Aaron needs to master the ability to harden his skin. Because basically, all right, you know the armored titan?
Yeah.
It's basically made out of his armor. But you find out that every titan can generate hardened skin. It's just that the armored titans, that's his specialty. Because you end up finding out that all these named titans have a special ability of some form or some special characteristic to them. But it ends up being, it's like all of them can harden their skin and stuff like this, but it's shed titan skin.
Okay. So what else can we spoil?
What other spoilers? I'm kind of looking through my little list. Oh my god. Okay, so I just had 2 spoilers. Okay.
But it's got to be relevant to the topic of spoilers. You can't just spoil things. Well, you can, but
no. Okay, so 2 spoilers that I just thought, and it's because they're the same type of spoiler that I feel like might actually ruin the series knowing them in advance.
Okay.
Is Cirque du Freak and Future Diary. If you were familiar with either of those 2.
I mean, I've heard of them, but I haven't read them.
Or the Saga of Darren Shan and Mirai Nikki, if you want alternate names.
All right.
If you're a Japanese purist, one of those.
As you know, I am.
I'm sorry.
And
did I
audience.
offend you when I didn't say Shingeki no Kyojin?
Yeah, I was completely triggered.
I'm sorry. You're right. It's not Attack on Titan. It's not AOT. It's SNK.
I did actually know somebody that got mad when I called it Attack on Titan.
And there are people like that. I'm just not one of them. I don't care. But okay, so I actually don't want to spoil these series because the plot twist is so good, but I'm just, to put it simple, they're both time paradoxes.
Oh, okay.
And I know that's I think Cirque du Freak, which I will let you know, Cirque du Freak is actually
I guess my question is, do you think the experience of something fresh is worth more than the value a series has upon rumination and with knowledge? Do you think a second viewing is inherently less valuable than a first?
No.
Yes?
I don't think it is. I don't think it's less valuable, but I don't know. See, so much comes from, in my opinion, that enjoyment factor that comes with something like a very well laid plot twist or a surprise. Because again, now in the case of Cirque du Freak, it's actually something that it sets up from literally the first volume, and you don't get the payoff until the end. And it's so well laid that it's one of those things where it's just like, I was like, oh my God, it was all there and I didn't see it. And it's so good. It's not as good in Future Diary, but it is still very good. It is still a good plot twist that you get, but and that's the thing with like those time paradoxical ones, is you can either do them really good or really bad. But
My thing is just that, like, the act of engaging in fiction, to me, the ultimate goal is not necessarily entertainment so much as the search for meaning. What does it mean? What is this thematically about? That kind of thing.
well,
How does this relate back to the human condition?
well,
And for me, spoiling something is more akin to making that search for meaning a little easier, but at the cost of diminishing the experience itself.
I'm someone who really likes the experience, though. The experience. I mean, I obviously.
To me, it's a fleeting thing, so it doesn't really matter. And I know that's very, I don't know. I don't know what word for it
I'm
is,
trying to
but
think of a good word.
makes
for
me a
that.
lame duck, I guess.
Yeah, basically. I to me, having that experience, and here's the thing: is I also feel like it says something about a series if it is. Does the surprise ending make it that much better, or is it one of those things where it happens and that's what makes the series? Like, again, I feel like with most M. Night Shyamalan movies, the plot twist is what makes the whole thing. You don't care about the rest of the movie. It's just there to lead up to the plot twist.
But that does to me that's a bad movie.
That's
To
what I'm
me, if
saying.
it's something, well,
That's exactly what I'm saying.
okay, to me, if it's good, okay, like when you the act of not spoiling something so that you create a certain type of association with that work based on your initial feelings having been unpoisoned, let's say, to me is, I guess, creating bias within within yourself, and it actually makes you less biased if you have a spoiler going in, because then you can go in and I don't know.
I see what you're saying, and I definitely agree. In the case of if you are reading things just so you can get the utmost amount of value out of it from a, as you said,
Let's just say from an academic point of view.
yeah. If that's the way that you're going into every single thing that you read, then
Which
yes, the spoilers don't matter in the slightest. It doesn't matter. We might as well read the last volume first if that's the way that we're going to go into it, because
I mean,
everything leading up to it is just fluff.
I know I'm gonna come off as a snob by saying this, but like I went to college to study narrative and to study the, like, I'm gonna sound like an idiot for saying this, but I have a creative writing degree. It's completely worthless, but I have it, and the whole point of all that training was the art of looking at these things from an academic point of view, and I try to just apply that same mentality toward my manga and entertainment, No, I'm not saying I'm on par with a university professor. Definitely not.
But you
But I'd
like to
like to
think
be.
you are.
Huh?
But you like to think you are.
Yeah. No, I know a lot of my opinions are base and inane and uneducated,
I mean, no one's opinion really matters at the end of the
but
day.
if nothing else, what I took from all that experience was that really what you're left with is the meaning. What does it mean to you? I'm not saying that. Well, you know what? Yeah, I am saying that pretty much all stories have to be about something, even if what it's about is just entertainment. Which then it's like, what do I have to say about comedy? Something like Bobobo. Can Bobobo be ruined by spoilers?
Say what? Say what?
I mean, to me, it obviously can't because it's all about the experience. It's just about feeling.
Does that make it a lesser life form to you?
Kind of, yeah, because it makes it much more harder to gauge based off of academic heuristics. Like, is the characterization good? Oh, but the genre it's in, gag comedy. Like, that's the point of a gag comedy is to suspend those things for the sake of pure entertainment. Um, and I guess, like you were saying, like a Shyamalan movie might actually be within the same category. It's about entertainment, not necessarily about thinking about it. And yeah, I do think those are lesser pieces of art. I guess. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, they are. Yeah, yeah. Everything has to be about something.
I mean, it is about aliens. We just find out that their weakness is doors and cups of water.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna talk about freaking signs now. Uh,
Okay, it is about aliens destroying the planet. It just so happens that
but
they're allergic to air.
let's go a little deeper, Blake. Is it what's it about the human condition that movie's about?
Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah. Well, the movie wants to be about signs. It wants to be about, I guess, the
That the
symbolism within
song.
our life that things can represent more than their innate value,
I
right?
feel
And that
like
there's a reason for everything.
I feel
There's a
like
reason that they want to leave all the water around at the house. And like or like,
I feel like I get more meaning out of a 3-minute John Prine song called Signs than I get out of an hour and a half M. Night Shyamalan movie.
yeah, but
I'm
that's because it's a
sorry.
bad movie.
It is a bad movie. That's what I'm saying. I'm
Yeah.
saying, in my opinion, if a series is 100% riding on that twist, yes, I do consider it a lesser series. But I don't think that just because it has a twist means that it's bad.
Well, no. No, twists can be good. It's about execution and what does that mean?
Right. Like I said, the ones and part of it is when I have those two series I was saying that are both time paradoxes. I think one of them sets it up amazingly, but even if you didn't have that twist, it would have still been a great series. The twist, in my opinion, just made it more memorable because of that. Whereas the other one, I feel like the twist was there to make you like it more. Like, and the series wasn't bad, and I'm at this point referring to Future Diary. I feel like it wasn't necessarily a bad series, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that one. I feel like the twist is just kind of tacked on there to make you be like, oh. But the problem is the world is kind of set up in a way where it doesn't matter. I don't know. I feel like it kind of diminishes its own meaning within its own setting. But
Let's go back to Death Note because you mentioned the big spoiler for the ending of it, but the bigger spoiler I think for Death Note would be L, the fact that he dies.
yeah.
Do you think if you knew that going in, you would enjoy his character less because you knew like because you'd have that, oh, I shouldn't get too invested because I know he's gonna die?
That's hard to say. I'd like to say no. I'd like to say I'd still like his character, even knowing that he would die.
So that's like one of the most fan favorited characters.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Most people did not know he was going to die when they went through it first. And that was the big spoiler. Everybody like would try to stop you from finding out.
I don't know. I feel like reading up to it, I just kind of got the feeling that he was going to die. I kind of felt like everyone was going to die, honestly. And like I said, well, that's the mentality that I go into every series that I read, though. I expect everyone's going to die. And maybe that's
so then like
that's because of
you,
my
you finish,
extensive
finish,
horror background.
So whenever you finish something, is it like, oh, these characters didn't die? Not literally everyone died.
Kind of.
Uh-huh.
I mean, and again, it depends on the series, especially if it's like a dark or horror-esque series. I expect everyone's going to die. I naturally expected that. And in Death Note, I walked in expecting everyone was going to die. So then when a character died, it was like, yeah, I saw that coming.
Well, for me, the spoiler
Dead Man Wonderland.
made it
I expected everyone to die, and they did.
For me, just the fact that L died did make Death Note better, but I also have a controversial opinion on Death Note where I think the second half is better than the first.
Yeah, I still don't agree with that one either.
Oh,
I know you have a raging hard on for Mello, but
oh, I do.
I like Mello. I think Nier ruins it though.
Well, yeah, I think it's better to have L die for the theme of the story because the whole story is about you as the reader having to decide, do you feel more like you agree with Light's mentality or L's? Mm-hmm. And if one of them had just a definitive victory over the other, that would be like the series is subscribing to that person's point of view.
Right.
But because one died but had successors, and the other dies and also kind of has successors, no one really wins. There are followers of Kira left in the world, a cult, and there are people who have L's mentality that still exists within the police and the task force. Both of their ideas get to live on beyond them. Now you as the reader have to decide, am I more like L or Light? Whereas if, okay, L dies and then you cut it off there, then it's just like the series subscribes to Light's point of view, which for me, I think Light's point of view is very childish and, not the one I subscribe with. So I would actually have a fundamental disagreement with the series more. Not saying I would hate it, but
you know who I subscribe to?
Ryuk. You just want to see the world burn.
No, I subscribe to Ryuk because I think you should be the player, not the played. And I mean that. I think that was a very key part in there, is that he was essentially the one pulling the strings from the background, and he never really had anything to lose in the matter. He was just there to play.
Yeah, but Ryuk also lives a very hollow existence.
Does he? Was that a Bleach joke?
Yeah, the whole reason he did that was because he was bored.
Was that a Bleach joke because he's a Shinigami?
Not intentionally, but sure. You can take it as such.
I will. This is always a Bleach reference. Yeah, and I think that's great. That's what I like about the character. I like I like the story point of why did you. I'm not sure if you've ever seen the movie The Strangers, but it's literally about this couple that they're like on the they're supposed to be on their honeymoon, but again they're in a cabin in the woods, and they suddenly start getting attacked by these people who start torturing and killing them. And at the end of the movie, she asks the characters, why are you doing this? And they say, because you were home. And I like that mentality. I like what's the deeper meaning? There isn't one. It just happened. Because I think that's very real.
Sounding very nihilistic, Blake, and that has me a little concerned. Would you like to talk about it?
Sure. I mean, if you really want to talk about it.
No, I'm kidding.
I'll talk. Let's hear more about our Lord and Savior Cthulhu.
Yeah. Well, spoilers. Cthulhu gets impaled by a ship at the end of his story.
It makes me cry every time. God, any more
another Lovecraft spoiler. Sub-Niggurath is literally just a symbolic representation of Lovecraft's fear of black people.
Dun, 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 dun. Unexpected racism. Dun, dun,
I think that's the second time I've done that to us. Oh wait, I don't think the first time made it on.
No, I haven't.
YouTube.
I actually haven't posted that one yet. Stick around, folks, for racism. Dun!
Well, I did just technically say the N-word.
Nipple.
Okay, so that's where we stand on spoilers. Is I think they're awesome, and you think they're not.
That's not true. I think it depends.
Okay, you're right. I overly simplified your view. You have a more nuanced opinion on spoilers than I do.
Yeah, I think that's a good description of you versus me. I mean, here's the thing. Like I said, when I was younger, if I got a spoiler, I felt like I was gypped out of the entire story, and I might as well not read it anymore. Now that I'm older, I realize no, spoiler doesn't ruin the entire thing. It's just the way that you look at it. You know what's coming now, but I still like to enjoy the adventure along the way.
Okay, you know what? I think spoilers are an excellent selling point, and if somebody is going to like reviews or talk to somebody about literally anything, they should just expect spoilers. Yeah. I think the whole concept of spoiler alert for reviews on YouTube or whatever is totally like, I think the agency should be put on the person who's seeking out information to look for spoiler-free reviews or whatever.
Right.
Instead of the agency being on anybody who's imparting information to filter themselves.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And here's the funny thing. I just remembered a story. I just remembered one more spoiler-related story from my life. And looking back on it now, I think it was one of the more immature things that I did regarding a story. I remember a time frame where I was pretty behind on One Piece. I hadn't even hit the time skip yet, even though it had been around for quite a while. And I was going to the St. Louis Anime Convention, STL Anime. And there was a One Piece panel going on. So I'm like, oh yeah, I want to go to the One Piece panel. Again, I was not even close to caught up with the series at this point. And so I walk in there, and the first thing I see on the wall, just projected on the wall, was the updated Warlords list. And I just looked at that and I'm like, I don't want to be here anymore. I was literally, because I went there with a buddy, and I just looked at him like, I don't need to be at this panel anymore. I've already had too many spoilers for one day. And it was one of those moments where it's like, looking back on it, it's like, it didn't fucking matter that I knew that. Like, again, and it was just the difference of my mindset at the time. And again, it was also a time where I wasn't caught up, but I was heavily invested into One Piece. So it was like, oh man, as someone who still, I try to, I try to avoid spoilers, but not in the traditional way. Not in the way that I make sure when I watch something it's spoiler free. It's just no, I just don't watch reviews of anything ever.
No, that's fine.
I just
How do
I
you figure
honestly
out what you want to see next, though? Then,
um
or do you
use
just do whatever?
hearsay. I mean, I will look up recommendations based on what I have. I mean, in the case of manga, I haven't needed a recommendation literally the entire time that I've read it because it's just talking to people. I mean, I have a
Yeah,
list. I'm looking at
yeah.
my
With
my,
with
my
manga, you'll never have read everything that your friend has.
exactly. So it's, and I mean, again, I'm looking at my anime list right now, and just looking at my ones that I said I want to read eventually, I have roughly 30 series is there. Just series that I have not even touched yet, and that's not including ones that I've started and haven't finished, which is another 20 to 30 series. So I will never run out of things. And
Okay.
even then,
Don't you
again, as time goes on, still new series are coming out that it's like, oh, I want to read these.
don't
So
you think you'd be able to cut out some of the bullshit from your list if you had more spoilers, though?
yes and no, because a lot of them are even, well, let's see. Okay, here, first one that I have on my list, Beelzebub. I know it has an incredibly trashy ending. I know that it's essentially an unfinished ending, and if it is, it's not good. I don't know exactly what it is. I just know it does not have a great ending. I still want to read it though. I still want to know the story.
Okay. And I'd be willing to read that with you because I never finished it.
Oh, really? I thought you finished it.
No, I dropped it. Spoiler when it became a sports manga for a couple volumes.
Oh yeah, you told me about that.
And honestly, that's kind of weird how I think about it because that was actually one of the more like awesome parts of it, I thought.
hmm
But I lost interest and started reading other things.
Yeah. Oh, like another one I have in here is one that you talk endless trash about. Koteki Hitman Reborn.
Black Clover,
Yeah, that one too. But
Koteki Hitman Reborn, yeah. Oh
it's
man,
like
no,
I still kind of. Here's the thing: is knowing that it's not amazing only affects when I read it, not will I read it or not.
well, there's a couple of heuristics for me. Is it good? Is one of them, or is it culturally relevant? Is another. Like I want to read things that other people thought were good, even if I don't think they are,
Right?
just so that I guess can probe into the mindset of the plebes.
Yeah, I understand that. I guess.
But there's only so much of that I can handle, so that's why right now I'm only reading stuff I think is actually going to be really good.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, oh god, I'm just looking through my list and just realizing all these ones. Literally, the ones that keep calling out to me are the horror series that I've wanted to read and just have not, like Gantz, Dorohedoro. Ugh, need. But yeah, so I think that's all I have to say on spoilers. They're good in moderation.
Okay.
I don't think the fact that a spoiler happens should ever be a reason for you to not experience it. I think it just changes the way that you experience it, if that makes sense. It changes the experience, but not whether you should or shouldn't experience it.
Okay. Well, Blake, are we about to finish this video?
I guess so.
Okay, well, we have time for one more spoiler, okay?
Okay.
All right. Within this video, at the very end of it, there's going to be some kind of incoherent noise to
What?
end it. All right.
What?
But until then, I would like it if everybody tell us their opinion tell us your opinion on subscribing to us on YouTube, but also tell us your opinion on spoilers. And you should also tell us your opinion on liking us on YouTube and like us. And you should tell us your opinion on literally doing everything that we tell you to do to bolster our numbers. because we gotta get them big numbers. And bye.